Hey, Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us today. This year has been so challenging for small businesses, but how do you see that the small business landscape has changed over the past year?
Hi, I'm Lindsay St Lawrence, VP Product Management with MasterCard Payment Gateway Services. My team helps develop the regional strategy and enablement and the deployment of the global payment gateway services with strategic clients in the North America region. As you may or may not know, small businesses are the backbone of the US economy, as they account for 99.9% of the businesses and employ almost 50% of the US workforce. These businesses are critical to the fabric of the United States and have been severely impacted by the pandemic. With the global pandemic sweeping across the country, I think it would be no surprise to hear that small businesses have been hit hard. The needs of small businesses have not necessarily altered, but they have grown more acute as a result of the crises, cutting across operational efficiencies like managing cash flow, paying bills, making payroll, as well as digital enablement and safety and security. While small businesses have been impacted across all facets of their operation, I'm really going to focus on the digital enablement side of the impact. As consumers ourselves, we have noticed that each industry has been impacted differently. Some have not been able to keep up with demand and have issues with inventory. Think about the toilet paper wars of 2020. While others have not been as lucky. Think travel, department stores, jewelry stores. At the same time, some small businesses have emerged or accelerated at an amazing rate due to the pandemic. Think digital content, video games, movies, online courses, and education. In fact, we have seen 1 in 5 small businesses close over the past year, and 1 in 4 Black-owned businesses have experienced the same unfortunate fate. As consumers, we have had to shift our behavior as we deal with quarantine, job loss, and safety concerns. And that impacts how we engage with the businesses, whether it means engaging less with the businesses or changing how we engage when we do decide to buy. Though we are speaking today about the effect on small businesses, the pandemic has had an effect on businesses of all sizes. And as such, even the largest retailers and businesses have had to adapt new customer engagement models and strategies to reduce the impact the pandemic has had on its current and future businesses.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I definitely agree with you on a lot of those points. So, what do you think it takes for a small business to be successful in this new COVID shopping landscape?
Businesses of all sizes need to become more aware of how their customers' needs are shifting and how their customers want to consume their products and services in this new environment and even beyond if those behaviors become permanent. These needs can vary based on the small business industry. It's definitely not a one size fits all. However, there are common shifts we have seen to balance both the low touch yet high customer engagement model to retain loyalty and spend and keep our small businesses open to see the other side of the pandemic. In fact, 95% of consumers say they are more likely to be loyal to a small business they can rely on. These shifts stretch from how small businesses deliver their products and services to how they enable their customers to pay for them. It's important for small businesses to become more digital, from website development to digital payment acceptance. According to a MasterCard survey back in 2020, 76% of small business owners suggest the pandemic prompted them to make their businesses more digital. From the same study, 77% have had a digital service added since the start of the pandemic. And 81% say digital has improved customer satisfaction levels. How businesses can change how they deliver their products and services include offering curbside pickup, delivery of the product, services offered maybe online or via a live Zoom, presenting menus via QR codes versus paper menus. Speaking of a move away from paper, businesses can also offer new ways to pay, like a move to credit and debit card acceptance and away from paper checks, as an example. In fact, MasterCard consumer research indicates that 58% of consumers say they are using cash less often or not at all since the pandemic began. Another shift can be enabling payments via a website or over the phone. An example here would be that local pizzeria starting to take payment details over the phone with the orders, or via its website enabling payments so when a customer arrives or the food is delivered, payment has already been completed and it's more of a touchless experience. The third way is to enable point-of-sale device to accept contactless payments. MasterCard's consumer research indicates that 45% of consumers prefer shopping at merchants offering contactless payments. Many times, a small merchant's point of sale is already contactless ready, and it's more of an educational exercise for the merchant to enable, just needing to reach out to their POS provider.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think that's really smart. What would you say about the relationships after COVID? How has the relationship between a bank and their small business customers changed?
While large merchants may have a slew of partners they can lean on, as well as the internal expertise and funding to adapt their business digitally, small businesses are not as lucky. Small businesses are not inherently prepared with the capital and expertise to change at the rate the pandemic demanded. And so some businesses have decided to close shop early, while others may have found partners to help them survive. Banks are a common party small businesses have, given their existing financial relationship. As such, banks can be a resource for small businesses as it relates to available funding and potentially other tools and assets the banks can offer to digitize their small business. Such tools can stretch across bank owned tools or partnerships that banks may have to help the small businesses manage through these uncertain times. In fact, 67% of small businesses want their primary financial institution to work more with financial technology providers to offer more innovative, helpful products and services faster. This digital enablement can include supporting their move online with a website builder or setting up a new merchant services account to accept online digital payments. Or, if their physical doors are open, assisting them to accept contactless payments or find a QR solution for presenting menus and enabling payments, as both are low-touch ways to pay.
I'm really glad that banks are there for their small business partners or their small business customers this past year. So for banks who are also really working to support and empower their small businesses, how should these banks counsel their small business merchants throughout this next year? Because things are still changing. How do they help the small business merchants keep their business safe and also thriving?
As it relates to payments, COVID-19 has forever altered consumers' engagements with several industries, and both parties need to think about the innovations they maintain even during the economic recovery. MasterCard consumer research indicates that 73% of younger Americans, those under 35 years of age, plan to use contactless post-pandemic. Thinking creatively to differentiate, as your competition may look different than before the pandemic, and even in recovery, you cannot anticipate that your business will return to pre-COVID levels. As with any crisis, the companies who can demonstrate adaptability, embrace new technologies, and different business models are the ones most likely to succeed.
Yeah, that's great. I think that makes a lot of sense. So, coming out of COVID, what is the one key takeaway that will help our banking partners grow over the next 5 years? What about small businesses?
It's tough to say that there is just one key takeaway that will help growth over the next 5 years in this segment, though I know we all want a silver bullet. Banks really need to make decisions about how and if they are going to invest in this small business segment and figure out how they can compete. And they need to recognize it may not be one thing for all small businesses. For example, retailers are largely focused on easing operations. Restaurants emphasize streamlining financial management. Tradespeople are most concerned with cost, and professional services prioritize protecting and growing their business. While small businesses may look to their banks for help, there are plenty of fintechs that are also pursuing this segment, and they can be very nimble in their solution communication and deployment. Therefore, it is key for a bank to decide how to strategically partner in this space to retain and grow with the small business segment. Banks need to consider the end-to-end journey of how their small businesses are going to consume the solution they want to offer and build that into any partnership development. The last thing a bank will want to do is build a solution that is too complicated for a small business to use.
So, the landscape is continuously changing, but I think a lot of things are definitely here to stay. I know it's been suggested that COVID's impact specifically on digital payments and the shift from cash to digital is really likely to stay. What are your thoughts?
Digital payments have grown 66% with small businesses over the past few years. So I agree that digital will continue to remain, with the pandemic really accelerating this move to digital and contactless. 68% of small businesses believe cash and check take too long to deposit. So the move to digital is really improving several aspects of the customer's lifecycle with the merchant, from acceptance at point of sale, creating a low-touch experience, to the funding and depositing of funds into the merchant's account. Something else that has emerged is the opportunity to pay via installments. This is another benefit of digitizing payments. This can help consumers better budget their spending on high-ticket items. Installments can be offered at checkout if the small merchant offers this as a payment method, or the banks can offer it to their consumers post-checkout to help spread payments out over time. This is something I have personally adopted over the past 6 months to budget my spending, especially across the holiday season, and something I see sticking around post-pandemic.
Okay, great. And so, thinking a little bit more into really just our industry, what are some common industry themes you're seeing this year as opposed to last year? Anything small business specific?
Several low-touch payment options have grown or developed to drive a frictionless consumer experience in the past year. Some examples include buy online, pick up in store, QR codes, installment payments, delivery, and merchants enabling and becoming more educated about contactless payments at point of sale. According to a Forbes report in 2020, 75% of consumers report they use curbside pickup and delivery on a regular basis. 25% say this is the only way they will buy unless it's an emergency. And 87% of consumers say businesses should continue to provide delivery and curbside pickup to reduce the need for in-person transactions. We've also seen an explosion of digital content delivery services like streaming videos, gaming, education. Another common theme in the restaurant space is the offering of outdoor dining consistently as indoor dining has been restricted. We are in an environment where a consumer is losing their choice in how they spend their money, or there are new influences in how they can spend, which can be counter from how they would normally act. According to a proprietary MasterCard survey in August of 2020, 8 in 10 consumers are interested in shopping in ways that support the small businesses in their community, which is fantastic. And they believe it is more important to support small businesses right now than big retailers. Yet, the majority of consumers, 58%, have prioritized shopping at big stores where they know they can find what they need, as opposed to shopping at small and local businesses to support them. This indicates an opportunity to match consumer desires to support local businesses with peace of mind about supply. There's also a term that has emerged over the last year. Some call them revenge spenders. This has emerged as it pertains to those consumers that plan to spend in a way they can't today, but want to as soon as they have the choice again. For example, those that miss the in-person experience of being able to touch or see a product in person, potentially impacting clothes and apparel purchases or even furniture. However, furniture has seen a quicker recovery than other industries during the pandemic due to the lockdown and consumers wanting to invest more in their home.
Okay, Lindsay, now this is a fun question. If you were going to open a small business tomorrow, knowing what you know, what are the 3 things that you would do first?
Number 1, be relevant. Identify a product or service that is relevant today during the crisis and can be delivered or provided to my customers in a low-touch environment, but also that has the staying power far beyond and not a trend that dies following their recovery. Number 2, finding a reliable partner that can help me minimize my risk and maximize my potential. And number 3, leading with digital across all channels.
Thank you for joining us, Lindsay. I had a lot of really good times talking to you, and you really helped me understand, not just the business partner landscape for banks, but also how they're really empowering the small business merchants and what small business merchants need to do to thrive and grow.